Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ravenbound launch day live stream. I'm CM Althalus. I've been on stream once before with the Ravenbound community, so it's great to be back and chat with you all again. Joining me today is the other community manager on the Ravenbound team, Platy. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Platy. You guys have seen me around on Discord. It is my first time on stream. Please be very nice. Thank you. And I can't wait
really nice
to
me
play
last time,
Ravenbound
so-
with you.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting in, having a bit of time today, playing around a little bit, and we also have a couple of guests joining us today. Platy, do you want to talk a little bit about who we have joining us?
Yeah, we have two incredible guests today. The first one we'll be talking to is Brooke, who is Ravenbound's lead combat designer. And the second guest will have the return of Jonas, who is the lead animator of Ravenbound, and also known inside the team as the combat expert, because he can speedrun that game like no one else.
Yeah,
So
it'll
look
be
forward
either
to that.
myself or Platy playing on stream today, and neither of us are quite that good, but we'll do our best to keep you entertained anyway. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
So Platy, is there anything else you want to chat about before we get our first guest in and you can start playing away, or do we want to just hop in?
Two quick heads up. We do have a giveaway happening on chat right now. If you're watching a rerun of the stream and you miss out, don't worry, join our Discord and we will be doing a giveaway there either tomorrow or Monday. We'll aim for tomorrow.
It's always a bit hectic around these launch days, so we're being a little bit flexible with our launch dates. But the giveaway in stream, will be happening at the end of the stream today. If you're catching us live right now on Twitch, so we will be sorting that out afterwards. Without any further ado, I think in that case we're ready to introduce our first guest. So, hello, can you hear us all right?
Hello, Brooke.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
So-
go ahead, Platy, you take it away.
Brooke, happy Ravenbound launch day. The game is now out in the wild, and I can't even imagine the amount of work you have put into the game over the last few years. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
Pretty great. Yeah, we're having a pretty excited day over here, so we're all celebrating and having a great time.
Have you hydrated today? I think that's very important to check.
Yes, definitely. I've finished off a full glass before this, so
We're ready
for
to go.
a bunch of talking. Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself to the stream? Even though we already said, the basics, please do introduce yourself.
So my name is Brooke. I'm the lead combat designer on Ravenbound. You might also know me as Combatsky in the Discord. That's me.
Thank you for agreeing to be here today. I can't wait to pick your brain about your processes related to Ravenbound. And chat if you have any questions, if you want to ask Brooke or you want to ask about Ravenbound in general, drop them in the chat and I'll try to keep an eye, or me and Althalus will try to get those questions answered. So, Brooke, I will be trying to play.
Are you able to? Yeah, okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and play Ravenbound while we chat. Let's see how that turns out.
I can handle the questions if you want while you're playing. Because I know for me, if I'm trying, like last time I did this when I was trying to read chat and play at the same time, I kept getting hit, which was definitely not normal for me, and I don't get hit a lot anyway. Face bashing against enemies is definitely not my main strategy.
That is usually my main strategy.
Yeah,
but I'll try to not.
I almost always take whatever cards I find that make me tankier, because I can guarantee I'm going to be taking a lot of damage. I try really hard to hit perfect cards, but I don't do it very well.
Yeah, don't worry. I think your reputation is gonna go way higher than mine after this. For anyone who's new to Ravenbound, it is an open world roguelite with a strong basis or root in Scandinavian folklore. So, as I read the name of the places and of the characters and stuff, please excuse the way I'm gonna butcher, the language. But the game is set in Avolt. And let's get right into it. So the start will just be us getting used to the controllers. And I think that would be a good time to ask Brooke, how did you get started with combat design? Like, what drew you to that? Because it's a very specific discipline within games.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, I was always into like really like actiony movies and anime and anything that really focused on fight sequences and stuff like that. And I did like martial arts and Kima sword fighting growing up, so I've always really liked like combat style things. And I used to make card games where I would like design the combat mechanics, and then I would sit my friends down and force them to play my games. They're always good sports about it. And then when I got my start professionally in games, I actually started out as a multiplayer level designer. And from there, I kind of slowly, gradually made my way over towards working on player mechanics and player systems. And then finally, I got the opportunity to start working on AI characters. And that's when I really discovered my love for AI design. And it's basically just gone full straight into combat design from there.
Sorry, go ahead, Alphas.
Yeah, sure. I'll just hop in with some questions here. So, how does the process of designing a style for a specific character or monster work? How do you approach that?
So I like to figure out what the gameplay intention is behind either the creature or the mechanic or whatever I'm working on, and really nail down what the purpose of that mechanic or character is supposed to be. So, for example, if it's a character, I'll look at, is it supposed to be a tanky character? Is it like a mob kind of enemy? Or is it supposed to be a mini boss? And I look at what we're trying to achieve by creating that character. And then from there, I use that as kind of the core basis to build out the design for that character. Lots of collaboration after that with other disciplines. And then finally, when you get it all back, going through and tuning the character to make sure that it fits. All the pieces come together and fit into that goal that you initially set out to hit.
That's awesome. Sounds like a really, really interesting discipline. I love just watching in the background here, Bloody just absolutely wailing on these tutorial NPCs.
Yeah.
Just really going
I forgot that was one behind me, so I wasn't like looking into him, so it wasn't letting me move on, but we got past it.
Have you managed to break the tutorial? Because that would be really impressive.
I'm worried I have broken the tutorial.
I think if you there's a tooltip on the left there that might give you a hint.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I thought I had to find someone to dodge.
Yeah, no, we're all good. So kind of continuing with the questions then while we're on the chat, can you talk about the folk of Avolt and how they kind of handle combat differently from other things you've worked on in the past?
So the folk have different types of abilities that are meant to kind of pair well with different builds that you can potentially make by looting items and equipment in the world. So, for example, the Ulvar, we haven't quite gotten to the card hands just yet. That'll be in the next part of this tutorial here. But there's something that you can do where when you have a card in your hand, you can drain the card and it gives you a certain benefit. And each of the folk have a different type of benefit that they give you. So, for example, the Ulvar, when you drain a card, they give you extra weapon damage. So, if you're trying to make a glass cannon build where you just want to go all in on damage, it's really good to pick an Ulvar character for that as kind of like your starting point, and then you have a good basis to kind of build on top of. And in contrast, the human, which is the folk that's currently being played as, when you drain a card, you're able to get coins from that, which allows you to buy stuff. So you can buy your health if you're low on health. You can buy relic slots, and these are all kind of mechanics we haven't quite gotten to yet, so it might not make much sense what I'm talking about right now, but you'll see in the future once we unlock it all here. But yeah, essentially those abilities pair well with your builds, so that you can kind of start, you can know where your starting point is and then push in a particular direction.
Makes total sense. Yeah, I'm kind of watching here. This is the first time I've actually seen Platy play, and I don't think I've, in my entire time playing Ravenbound, used as many jump attacks as I've seen so far. It's just something that I totally forget is even an option.
Yeah, they're quite fun to use.
They are. They're really great.
Yes,
That's something that I wish I'd
my
remembered more,
secret
because-
strategy.
Yeah. So, okay, next question, and we always love to ask this one anytime we have someone on who's part of any kind of discipline that requires creativity, right? Which is pretty much every discipline in the games industry. When you're creating characters, or a fighting style, or kind of a rhythm for a character, I guess is the way we want to phrase it, really like mostly on fighting styles, where do you find your inspiration? You know, what sources do you have for kind of trying to find something cool to pop in there?
Yeah, so I like to look at other melee action games quite a bit. Really see like what other games are doing, what are they doing well, and using them as case studies to really dig into their mechanics. And I especially like looking at boss fights and digging into like what makes some of the great boss fights work really well, because it's a full experience that you can really dig into, and you can get a lot of learnings by studying other games in that way. And I also like looking at action movies for that like extra pizzazz if you're trying to like really style up a fighting style that you're developing in your game. It's great looking at movies and like just what looks really cool, and then using that kind of like, okay, if I want this to feel like this particular action movie, like these are the kinds of places where you can take the mechanic to really up the fun factor of it.
Yeah, kind of getting that real pizzazz, I suppose, like the wow factor that you get out of like the lens flares. And no, not as much the lens flares, but you know, the cool combat rolls and the. I remember I always used to watch action movies when I was younger, and you'd see some like really, really overdone martial arts that were just some of the coolest things to watch. And I think that those kind of sound like some really fun things to try and build into, you know, when you're building combat for a character. So this is a really kind of possibly tricky question, right? How long does it take to design and balance like a fight, like a boss fight maybe? Or can you tell us a little bit about the process for how that works?
Yeah, so it all, of course, really depends on what kind of character you're making. Like grunt style characters can take anywhere between like a week or two to develop, whereas bosses can take like 4 to 6 months. Usually 6 months is the nicer time period to have if you want to do a lot of R&D testing with them. Yeah, and then balancing never ends. Balancing is forever. Especially if you have a live game, then you'll be balancing it for like the whole duration of its life cycle.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know, there's always the talk of, all live service games, they're constantly evolving and all of that, but like the part to remember is that because they're constantly evolving, even older content has to evolve with them. If there's a lot of new weapons coming in, you have to always bear in mind, how does this impact this fight that we're doing? And that seems like a really interesting challenge, possibly, to deal with.
Yeah.
Something that
And sometimes you even want to hit the reset button on the meta entirely and just rebalance the entire game if the balance is a bit stale.
So, another question for you, and I know a lot of people won't have seen many of the characters of the bosses or anything in Ravenbound, but something that people can maybe keep in mind while they're getting towards those later game later game. Encounters. God, I looked over at my second screen and got completely sidetracked mid-word there for a second. Which enemies in Ravenbound have been your favorite to work on?
Definitely the bosses. They've been especially fun. I can't say much about the final boss yet but I'm very excited for players to reach her because she was very fun to design and tune and tweak and get right. So I'm very excited to see streamers finally like reaching her and see how they handle that fight. And then I really enjoyed working on the wardens as well. We really wanted to style them like a dance, where they can really keep up with the players' movements because you're so agile in this game. So when we finally got the wardens to a point where their gameplay clicked and felt really good, there'd be days where I would come in and I would put the warden as like use dev cheats to make them invincible, give myself the worst weapon in the game, and just fight it for 10 minutes to just feel out the movement. So that was some of the most fun that I've had on the project. And then I have a soft spot for really dodgy kind of hit and run style characters. So I really enjoyed tuning the Elder Sky Hexa and the Vitra.
Yeah, that sounds. Those are the absolute bane of my existence. So I'm glad you enjoyed them so much. They've caused me headaches every time I've had to face them. So it's really great to hear that some joy went into creating them because it feels like there was some malice put in there a little bit as well every now and then. So this is a really fun hypothetical, and we gave you some time ahead of the stream to think about this one, so hopefully you've got a great answer for us. Imagine there are absolutely no technical limitations and absolutely anything goes. If you were able to add any boss fight, like the boss fight of your dreams, to Ravenbound, what would that look like?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make people sweat when I pitch this one, because I always imagine like having that giant. Having a giant boss character kind of at the core of the world that like cleaves its way out of the ground and like towers up above like the whole world, and it's like taller than the highest mountain, and it's like swinging its sword at you and like ice breath, fire breath, you know, all kinds of big massive attacks coming your way, and you would have to transform into the bird, which we're just about at that point, so spoilers, but you would use the bird to fly around its attacks and get up onto spots on top of this giant creature where there are these weak points, and the weak points would have enemies around them, and you have to defeat all the enemies, and then that would let you destroy the weak point, and you basically do this until you've destroyed enough weak points to fell the giant boss.
Sounds really great.
Are you by any chance a fan of Attack on Titan?
Maybe a little bit.
Because I won't say much because, you know, spoilers, but, you know, it reminded me of something that happens in that show. And I was here for it. Like, I wish that fight could exist.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
So just a reminder for everyone that's watching, if you're watching anywhere that isn't Twitch, there's a giveaway happening live in Twitch chat at the moment. You can type !giveaway, and that will get you entered. We'll be giving away some keys at the end of the stream. We'll get in touch with you over Twitch if you're one of the lucky winners that we draw. And then we'll also be doing a giveaway in Discord for anyone that's watching. We will be kind of rebroadcasting this on the Steam store page after the stream is live. We'll be putting that live a couple of hours after the stream once we have a chance to just edit it and all that kind of stuff. So that will be going live later. If you're watching there, you can join us on Discord, either via Linktree, which you'll see popping up below me after this one rotates, or you can find links then on our website, which is ravenboundgame.com. There will be extra giveaways there happening either tomorrow or Monday. So moving on from that, some players have been with us for a while, right? We've had 2 beta tests, we've had the demo period. Of course, Ravenbound has come a long way since the first time we gave it to anyone to, external to Systemic Reaction to really play. What are some of the things that they can expect from the full launch of the game that maybe have changed or slightly tweaked since they last might have played the game?
Yes, so we've done quite a bit of balancing since the demo and betas, and we've used a lot of what we've observed from those to identify a lot of just general game balancing. So we've put a lot of work into the bosses to try and even out that difficulty curve and make it feel a lot nicer. And also into the enemies, like the mob enemies out in the world. One really good example of this was we observed with the Elder Sky Hexa, people were obliterating her very, very quickly. And we wanted to increase the amount of time that you would spend fighting her and make her feel a bit more like a high adrenaline boss fight. So we put a bit of effort into making her last a bit longer and being a bit more challenging to fight. And then we've also identified several quality of life features, pain points that players were kind of bumping their knees against. And so we tried to iron out some of those pain points and make it a bit more fun.
Awesome, that sounds really great. I mean, I know a lot of players were super excited about, the stream, or not the stream, sorry, the launch, having played during the beta, having played during the demo. We've had a lot of really, really hyped people on Discord. At exactly the launch time, we had a bunch of people being like, game isn't available yet, why isn't the game available yet? So, we love to see that, and I think people are going to have a lot of fun, finding the slight changes since the last came through, but also just finding that they can actually maybe fight the second boss now. Because I know we were a little bit sneaky about this before, we didn't really say a lot about it, but for the demo period, not so much for the beta, but for the demo period, the second boss was buffed beyond the point of reason. So now, there might actually be a possible boss fight there. I know I saw a few people who honestly made a good attempt at, beating that boss, and I was really impressed by how far they got. But I think people are going to have a lot of fun, really getting into that and even getting past it.
Everyone has a fair chance now to get to beat the second warden.
Yes.
Fair chance, yes. Does that mean I'm going to be able to do it? No, we'll see.
If you practice and get a good build going, then.
Oh yeah, it's going to take a while. That's the great thing about these games, right? Is you have so many chances in a row, and you can really optimize the game to kind of suit you, which is something that we'll be able to show off a little bit more as we go. So here's one more question. So if you're ever stuck on how to move forward with a battle or a quest, what do you do to try and try and get past that design block? What's your muse?
Yes, I usually just go for a walk. I find whenever I get a blocker, it's because I'm just looking at it from the same angle for too long, and I just need a change of scenery, change of pace. So I'll just go for a walk, have a coffee, kind of give my brain a chance to reset. And then I might mull over the problem a little bit more as I'm walking, but I'll start considering different angles and different approaches to the problem rather than the same one that I've been stuck on. And then usually when I come back, I have a better frame of mind to kind of tackle it from a different direction. And that usually helps kind of snake past those blocks.
Yeah, for sure. I know those kinds of blocks happen to everyone, but that sounds like a really great way to, get out of yourself for a few minutes, really, have a bit of downtime, go somewhere that's maybe going to give you some inspiration. I know for me, sometimes when I have those blocks, whether I'm coding or whether I'm, writing up patch notes or something like that, it's often tricky to find something that will break you out of it. But in particular, it's often the most totally unrelated stuff that actually does it for you. So going for a walk and just kind of having stuff going around seems like a really great way to do it. So while we're flying around, that's kind of the end of the questions that we gathered from the community for you that we wanted to go through today on stream. Is there anything else that you want to shout out, chat about really quickly before we move back on?
I just want to say, really, really excited to see people playing the game. So, yeah, just really excited today and really happy to see people enjoying playing. And hope that people who haven't had a chance to try it yet will have a go and enjoy the experience.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. It was really great to have you. Got some great answers from you there about everything to do with combat design. Hopefully we might be able to have you back on in future if we have something in more detail to talk about. And yeah, it was really great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Brooke.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you. So that was our first guest segment. We will have another guest joining us later. That will be Jonas, who works on our animations. He's our principal animation designer. Is that the one? Principal animator?
Yeah, lead animator.
Lead animator. Okay, great. So we'll have that coming up in about kind of 15-20 minutes. But first, we're just going to kind of keep playing the game. We're going to start grabbing some questions out of Twitch chat, anything that we can answer there. So if you have any questions, feel free to start throwing them at us. One of the first ones that I saw that I wanted to address, because I've seen it about 20 times at this point, some people were asking, oh, is this game inspired by this folklore or that folklore? I've seen Vikings, I've seen Eastern Balkans, all that kind of stuff. Really, the main inspiration for this game, for its visuals and how it plays, is a lot of Scandinavian folklore. So it's kind of a mix of various types of Scandinavian folklore, but you'll find that in the folk, you'll find it in the weapons, and some of the bosses. It's all very inspired by that kind of feel. You'll even see here the character that Platy is talking to right now is of a different type of folk than we are. And you'll find that there's a bunch of those, not just in NPCs, but also as playable characters that you can unlock as you go through. Platy, just one thing I wanted to suggest, because I'm going to give Platy a bit of an out here for any mistakes that you're seeing. They are playing with a little bit of delay because they're remotely connected into a PC that I'm then taking into my system here. So if you want to, at some point, we can kind of swap roles here. Maybe for the next interview with Jonas, I can take over playing, because then I won't have any delay and I won't have any excuses.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Yeah, we'll let you keep going with your run. We've had a lot of questions about Steam Deck as well. So as far as I know, and I haven't had an update on this in a few hours, so it might have changed since then, but the last I heard was that this is working on Steam Deck experimental builds. We haven't got anything about Steam Deck verification yet. That is something that we'd obviously love to get, but that's more of a Valve process than something that we can directly kick off ourselves. We've had some questions about sorry, I'm just scrolling back up to try and grab some from further up before I start scrolling back down again to make sure I didn't miss any. Was there more stuff added between encounter spots? So there's always a lot being added, right? And I know that the team has been working really hard on continuing to add stuff to the map. Most of what's been done since the last time you will have seen this game is just adjusting bug fixes, making sure to like really get some quality of life improvements in there, all that kind of stuff. Anything else? Love the look of the flight. I've had a bunch of people saying stuff about the flight. Yeah, flying around in this game is one of my favorite de-stressors. Sometimes I'll just hop in like in the middle of a work day and just kind of fly around, even if I'm not doing any of the fights. How big is the map? I'm not actually sure. Really big. I haven't ever gotten to the point where I've unlocked all of the areas or been able to fly through all of the areas, so I can't actually answer that for you.
Yeah, what we're seeing right now is just one of the biomes, I want to say, out of 7 that you can unlock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very big.
Had a few questions about releases on other platforms. We're only focused on Steam right now. That's the only place that Ravenbound is going to be available for the time being. We don't really have any plans outside of that right now. Everyone has been laser focused on the first, getting this launch out first. That's been our real primary focus over the last couple of weeks. I can say, the amount of excitement that the team had coming in today, always mixed with that bit of anxiety. It was really kind of the focus of. It was really the focus of the last couple of months for us. Someone said, during beta, I was not able to test controller support. It seems like it might be really good. Yeah, so Platy is playing with controller right now. I always play with controller when I'm playing. It definitely feels a lot better than keyboard and mouse for me. It should work for you. Just natively, Steam has really good bindings for mapping controllers. But if it doesn't, feel free to reach out over on Discord and we might be able to give you a hand getting your controller working. Have a look through the rest.
And one thing that's worth noting, people did ask during the demo if we could add an option to rebind keys. So, you're able to do that. You can remap your keys as well to suit your playstyle.
Yep, we've got much more robust key remapping these days. And if you have any other feedback like that, like if there are anything that you can't rebind or adjust that you'd really want to, like I said before, feel free to leave that in Discord. We have a Discord forum channel set up about feedback, so have a look through there, see if anyone's already left some feedback relating to what you're talking about. And if not, feel free to make a thread about it. I'm sure there are other people who really want to get involved with that, or who want similar things to you. We're always really keen to listen to feedback. Building this game with the community is a major focus for us. That's something that we'll want to be. We'll really want to see, what you're giving us, what feedback you have for us. So, Maddie, what are you up to right now? What are you doing in game?
So, I'm trying to either get more coins or find an NPC that would give me a quest so I can get coins. But I couldn't see any in the village I just went to, so I will try and go somewhere else to find coins so I can heal myself. I'm pretty sure
fair.
this run will fail the next time I fight something, but I'm trying.
If it does, I can take over. I know the delay is a killer. Even just a little bit of delay in a game like this is a real nightmare. I was hoping it'd be a little bit more playable than maybe it is, but it's probably causing some problems for you.
I'll use that. I'll take that. It's the delay.
What else? Oh, hang on. If you're playing as human, you can. I forgot. I never play as human. Are you able to scrap a card for health? Or is...
Oh, let's check that
human
right
is
now.
For gold. Human is for gold. So if you drain the card, then you'll get 50 gold. So extra drain, yeah.
Oh.
Yep, there you go. Now you have enough gold for a heal.
Now I can go heal.
I so rarely play as human at this point that I totally forgot. Hell's VIP asked, having played both betas and seeing how the game has progressed, which builds are you excited to see people using? I play glass cannon builds, which is a really interesting decision for me to make, considering I'm also really bad at thinking while I'm playing and doing anything defensive. But I'm really excited to see some of the creative ways that people manage to chain those cards together. There's a lot of opportunities in the game to chain cards together, and if you get something very early on during a run, you can then start snowballing that. Some of the really high, some of my favorite builds, my favorite games that I've played have always been the ones where I'm, starting very early with a card that starts giving me mana that I can then kind of snowball into a really, really high damage build. And by the end of the game, I'm getting towards doing like 8 times the damage I do by default, or 10 or 12. It really does snowball that way.
I love that. In a previous build I had, I was just adding any traits and cards that would give me damage as I'm about to die, because I hate blocking. I don't like being stealthy. I want to go in and do as much damage as I can as quickly as possible while risking my life. So I'm very excited to continue that build at some point.
Just the old face tank and swing.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. That's also one of my favorite ways to play. I absolutely love when you get to just run in and just keep hitting. And you can do that a little bit with some of the builds that I was playing before. Especially some of the, when I play those glass cannon builds, I tend to play one of the different folk. I've forgotten which one it is because it's so long since I've looked at the list, but or looked at the cards at this point. But there's one that lets you heal when you drain cards, and I find that really valuable because I just end up taking a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Really cool questions. I've never really played a roguelite style game. I think trying to get over the fact that I'm supposed to die. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Thinking, especially with kind of, the brain memory we have for this type of kind of third-person combat. For me, at first, it was really hard to get over the idea, like you said, that I'm actually supposed to die here. I'm supposed to go through, create a new character, start a new run, all that kind of stuff. It did definitely take me a while to get used to as well when I first started playing this game.
Me too. I try and hold on for as long as possible when ideally I should just be taking risks and, progressing the character. And I'm like, no, I'm attached to this character. I must keep him alive.
Yeah, saw a question there about only melee weapons. Yeah, so it is only melee weapons at the moment. We don't really have any announcements regarding more weapon types. We'd love to hear what you want. Like we said before, we're really planning on shaping Ravenbound with the community, and we have a plan to keep this game going for a long time and to keep developing actively as we go. So if ranged weapons or other types of weapons are things that you want to see, please leave us that feedback in Discord. But at the moment, yes, it is only melee weapons that we have in the game.
I'm about to attempt my first rift.
Apparently we had a hydrate and stretch redeemed off chat, so I'm going to do that real quick. I actually forgot to grab my bottle of water before I came over to the stream, so I'll be back in 1 second.
Go hydrate. So for anyone, is there fall damage? There isn't fall damage, which is extremely lucky, considering that sometimes you might press the wrong button and change from Raven form to your human form completely randomly. So no, there is no fall damage. I've seen some people be confused about the what a playthrough for Ravenbound might look like. So when you start a run, what does that look like? So the main objective when you start is to clear one of the rifts, so one of these places, so that you can cleanse some of the hatred around this area and get a nice amount of mana so that you can use or activate some of the cards. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your health is as high as it can be. You've activated at least 1 or 2 cards, and you want to head to this rift so that you can start unlocking chests without putting hatred on yourself. We haven't talked about in depth about hatred, but hatred bad,
maybe I can,
basically.
Do you want me to explain the hatred while you're continuing to play through, maybe?
Yeah,
just
go
for
ahead.
the record, I did stretch. I couldn't find water, so we're going to have to go with generic vitamin drink instead. I have no idea where I left my water bottle. So that's hydration done and stretch done. So yeah, hatred is one of the more interesting things to get used to in the game. So when you're exploring an area that hasn't been cleansed, and there are only certain areas that you can cleanse, when you pick up shards from enemies, which is what you see in the bottom right here, mirrored cameras, those shards can then become cards. But as you pick those up, sometimes you'll also pick up hatred with them, or you'll have to drain hatred from a camp or from an enemy in order to pick them up. Hatred is a mechanic that makes enemies and bosses more powerful. So as you unlock more cards, you'll often also gain more hatred. So you kind of have to constantly have a bit of a balancing act of, how much hatred do I want to pick up to power up the boss I'm about to fight versus how much more powerful is it going to make me while I do these cards. But yeah, you can cleanse the hatred in this area by going into the rift first, and that then lets you have a bit more of a free power up.
I am half tempted to go down there and face whatever it is, but I will die. Which is the point of the game.
If you die, that's fine. We're getting towards the point where we're going to bring in our next guest, which is probably where I'm going to take over playing anyway, so I don't mind starting fresh.
Okay. Let's see what's hiding here. It's just a bandit. It's fine. I don't want to go down without a fight, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I saw someone saying that Althalus doesn't have a tap in his house confirmed. So I think you need to
I'm
prove
actually
them wrong
not
at
in my
some
house
point.
at the moment. So that would be why
Touche.
that's why we're getting that one. Okay, so that was the end of the first run. So at this point, if you want, I can take over the game. I'm just gonna plug in
Yeah,
my controller
feel free.
here. Awesome. Now I can't promise that I'm going to be much better because there's a tiny bit of delay in my preview screen as well, but it shouldn't be as bad, I hope. Okay.
Someone just asked in the chat, is this a roguelike? Yes. Roguelite, roguelite, actually.
Okay. Cool. I think that's me controlling this. It is not. Can you disconnect from the remote access thing as well, just so I can take over?
Yep.
Thank you. And then in just a minute, we will or we'll head over to Jonas. We'll bring in our next guest, and you can start. The two of you can start chatting about, all the questions that we have for Jonas. We did have one person in YouTube chat saying that they get a game crash when launching. The best way to deal with that is to head over to our Discord. You can find the link either on our link tree, which is on the screen now, or on our website, which is ravenboundgame.com. And then if you go to the game support channel, you'll be able to get some help there with that. Let's see. Okay. Give me 1 second. What I'm going to do is, Claudia, do you want to introduce Jonas and tell us who we have joining us here?
Okay, so for our second guest, we have Jonas. He is the lead animator for Ravenbound. Not only the lead animator, the only animator for Ravenbound. And yeah, he'll be chatting about his process and more exciting things.
Yeah, so anyway, without further ado, hello Jonas, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Welcome and welcome.
Clear. Great to have you. What I'm going to do is if
Thanks.
the two of you want to kind of go through the introduction, I'm just going to get my controller working because it's decided it wants to disconnect.
Yep, you do that. Welcome, Jonas. Ravenbound is now out in the world. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I feel pretty excited and it's nerve-wracking at the same time, leaving your baby out to the world to witness, it's a mixed bag, but yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think the game is, as best as we can have made it, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I can guarantee the team have been working extremely hard and that we were so excited as well as quaking in our seats half an hour before the game launched. So it's an interesting experience to go through. Yeah, like you said, letting your baby out into the world. But our community is lovely. Jonas, we can hear you breathing, according to chat.
Yeah, I'm alive. I breathe.
How dare you?
Is it better?
So,
Can you still hear me?
I think it sounds better.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, move the mic a little bit.
So Jonas, could you introduce yourself in your own words?
Yeah, my name is Jonas Wallin. I am the principal lead animator at Systemic Reaction, Avalanche. And currently, like you said, I'm the only animator on this project. So yeah, that's me.
Going into the questions, someone just said you're giving us breathing ASMR for free, so thank you for the free ASMR. So how did you always want to be an animator? Was that your childhood dream?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think my childhood dream was to be a dinosaur scientist. But I worked on dinosaur games now, so that's close enough. But very early on, like when I was a kid, I did flipbook animations. When you take a notebook and you see, like you flip the pages quickly, and I did stick figures killing themselves. So, and also drew comics, which is it's not animation, doesn't move, but there's resemblances, I think. And yeah, I didn't think I was gonna work with that. It felt kind of intimidating when you looked at other people's work. It was very impressive, and I wasn't at all on that level, obviously, when you started. But I played a lot of games, so working in this industry was very definitely something I wanted to do. So I found a university that worked with 3D graphics, so I gave that a shot, and that led me to animation again. Coming with the background, it was somewhat of a hobby already. So we kind of just things just took off after that, basically. And I'm glad it did, but it wasn't like this. Didn't plan it from when I was born.
I think working in the games industry is very different from maybe wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer,
Yeah.
which is something that you have to plan
Yeah,
much
or a dinosaur
earlier on in
scientist.
life. Yeah. It's something that eventually you find yourself in that path, and then you're like, oh, suddenly I'm here. Cool, I do games. And where do you take your inspiration from when you were working in, or when you're working in Ravenbound? What inspires you?
I mean, I come from first-person games, so this was the first game in this genre. I mean, there's many genres in this game that's new to me, but for an animator, it's an action melee game, and very different from first-person reloads that I'm more used to. So I looked at other games first before embarking on this journey, and there are a lot of good games that does this very well. So I analyzed what it is that makes them great, how they telegraph attacks. The attacks are the most important thing in these games, I think. And it's important it looks powerful, that is telegraphed well, so players can expect, what the AI are going to perform, so they just don't get, frustrated because something happens and that kills them and they had no idea, stuff like that. So yeah, I looked a lot towards other games and kind of but still I wanted to have a unique feeling, so I didn't just straight off copy the poses they used. Try to find my own kind of style, for that fits this game, a bit arcadey, but still kind of grounded. The human still kind of has quite realistic proportion, nothing extreme, so a bit more grounded. So yeah, copied other people's work and tweaked it a little bit to create something new.
They say
That's how
imitation is
artists
the
do it.
best form of flattery.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't played as an OVAR, and I really want to. Can you please confirm that they run on all fours like a wolf?
Oh, yes, they are. That's mocap, by the way, running on all
Oh.
four. Yeah, it is.
Was
That's
that
really
you? Is there footage
Yeah.
of that?
It's all me.
Good to
We
know
want that
that.
footage
Maybe
for
we'll try
totally
and get.
normal reasons.
Yeah. Are there any animations in Ravenbound that you found particularly challenging to work on?
Yeah, old animations that are very tied to player controls, that has a lot of usages. So I think you can, after you kill this Draugr, you can perform a dodge animation, and of this video is playing. So the dodge animation is a perfect example of a hard animation to pull off. And it's not necessarily because the animation is hard to animate, it's how it works in game. Because you can tap the dodge button and it will perform a short dodge, but you can also hold the dodge button and it will slide a bit longer. But I only have one animation for that. That's what makes it tricky. How to make this animation feel good and work good in many scenarios. And it's so extreme as well. Selling an extreme animation like this dodge, I mean, it's super unrealistic, right? I think it slides like 12 meters or something. And usually, as an animator, you want to sell a big motion with a big anticipation, but the dodge is instant. So, yeah, there's a lot of different aspect of this particular motion that was very, very hard. And also, you do it all the time, as the player. So it needs to look good. Otherwise, it's kind of jarring. So yeah, that sort of stuff is definitely hard. The grappling hook is another example where again player control super quick, unrealistic, and the same animation need to work in different areas because you can grapple forward but also upward with the same animation. So it just needs to fit in so many scenarios. That's hard. It's hard.
Well, I can
got so focused on
confirm
showing
that.
off the dodge for you that I
Show off
totally
the
forgot
grapple.
to actually finish what I was doing. Yeah, there's the grapple.
I can confirm that with the dodge animation, people it catches people's attention. I've seen a lot of community feedback on it, and it's definitely a powerful animation because it reminds me of a car skidding. Because whenever you
Yeah.
whenever you
It's very
dodge,
skatey.
there's just that cloud, like a. So yeah, good job on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of the identity of the game. I feel like it's there are other games that also have a dodge like this, but most games feel like have a roll, and it's a lot shorter. So it's the bread and butter of the combat. So yeah, I hope someone likes it.
People definitely like it. I'll put together a little sheet of I love the dodge animation for you. So, in general, what are your favorite things to animate? Is it walk cycles, attacks, or interactions? What do you enjoy?
I enjoyed the whole package. Obviously, creating an entire character that involves all of this. Obviously, so that thing is that in general is what I like most. But if I had to pick a particular animation, like you suggested, it would be attacks, definitely. And the biggest reason for that, I think, is that players do in general care about those animations more than they kind of take a walk cycle or a jog cycle for granted, right? They're happy in general that if it doesn't look shit, basically, that's good enough for them. They don't really care if it's, if I put all my heart to it, and it runs super nice. That's usually not super important to most players. I'm generalizing, by the way. But attacks, they see, in general, if the attack feels very powerful and snappy, they do care. It feels good to play when when you feel powerful, when your character feels powerful. And I also enjoy, combat design, and attacks are a huge part of combat design. So obviously, if you can combine those with, doing animations you love and also kind of designing the combat, the enemy encounters, that's my favorites if I had to choose.
And you can definitely tell when, like, an animation can make or break the
Oh yeah,
satisfaction you get from combat. For example, sometimes if there's no way, it's like you're killing something, but you're not, you're not getting anything from it, which is a weird thing to say, but yeah.
oh yeah, definitely. It's especially in a game like this, I feel like animation plays a huge part, and melee bosses, like if the animations doesn't show the telegraph is done sloppily, and it maybe is a long charge, but it just stays there, and then whoop, then suddenly the attack comes. It then it's almost like you just do a countdown before you need to dodge. You don't feel when you need to dodge, and I think you want to hit with the animation and an expectation from the player that they know when to dodge, even though they haven't seen that attack before. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you have to You just need to feel that instinct that you know what's
Yeah,
coming and you can prepare yourself.
exactly.
Just quickly on the chat, Rembot says, I really enjoyed the weight of the animation so far.
Mm.
Movement feels meaty, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. To be honest, in a game like this where it is so quick, it's so arcadey, the weight is very hard to pull off. And you do lose it, every now and then, especially with this dodge. And you, the enemies also move a lot, so you need to, we call it calibrate the attack, so it warps towards the enemies. You're gonna lose weight there, but uh, I rather have that. I sacrifice the animations any day for smooth controllers and fun gameplay. But it is a trade-off, and I'm glad a person thought it looked meaty. Thank you.
Just gonna cut in for 1 second. So I am hydrated, and I am about to go into the first warden fight. This has some of my favorite animations that I've seen in the game so far. So I just really wanted to get to here, while we have time to keep chatting, just to show off kind of a little bit of what you're talking about with the bosses and telegraph attacks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna focus now.
Yeah, this fight very much feels like what Brooke said, that it's a dance between you
Yeah.
and this warden.
Yep. Good luck, bro.
Yeah, you've got this. Next question. I think you've kind of answered this already, since you said there is footage of you running around on all fours. But do you find yourself acting in real life when you're animating something?
For this game, I use motion capture for pretty much everything. So, and motion capture is acting, it's performing. So obviously, yeah, acting. Oh, too bad, man.
That was a
Not
good
the best
attempt.
fight.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, man. I hope you can unlock something cool. Anyways, to get back to the acting part, yeah, I mean, it is motion capture. I use that as a base. That is by definition acting. But usually also before you go into the motion capture studio, you need to know what you should perform. So usually when we in the combat team or someone else that interested in movement, we kind of brainstorm a little bit first, and see how should this enemy move, how should it behave, what is the intensity, what is the personality like. So how that plays out usually is that we collect the stakeholders and we go into an open area, and I bring a sword, a foam sword, and I swing that sword in a manner that we feel initially fits the character that we are going to implement in game. And we hopefully we agree, that this is a motion style, an intensity and attack that is interesting for the player to interact with. And then we make a note of that, and go to the mocap session and perfect that motion, so we have a good, clean base to work with as an animator. So yeah, acting is super important, and knowing how to swing a sword.
Did you practice a lot? Is that a hobby of yours?
I mean, it wasn't a hobby before, but I wouldn't consider it a hobby. But I do enjoy it, every now and then. It's when it has a purpose. I mean, I guess it's a boyish dream to swing a sword, and when you feel like it actually has a purpose, you're not just goofing around. You can commit yourself in, like, I'm a really Viking here. I have a huge sword, and this is not just silly. This is important. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, almost a hobby. I enjoy it. That's all I can say.
I
Apologies, the
think
game just
you're.
crashed. It always happens on stream. The game always crashes. Be back in 1 second.
Yeah, technical difficulties. It's bound to happen. Um, So I think your child self would be super proud of you. You know, you worked on dinosaurs, and part of your job is swinging a sword round.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Um, so currently, you're the only member in the animation team. Is there another team that you collaborate with very closely, or you work with mainly, so you don't feel lonely, or how's that?
I feel lonely sometimes. No, I have a awesome team on many disciplines. I work mostly with the character programmer. I mean, the animations need to be implemented. I do a lot of implementation myself, but I do need help a lot as well. So very closely with my buddy there, the character programmer, and it's a lot of back and forth. Like he gives me the states that I do initial pass of the motions, and try to bring that as far as I can. And then if I have feedback myself that it would be cool with if we can have an additional motion, a transition that is missing. I bring that feedback to him and we implement that. So it's a lot of back and forth to really make it smooth and control nice. So definitely a lot with the character programmer, but also again like it's a action melee combat. So animation is super important for the enemy design. So I would consider myself part of the combat team. So I don't call they them. I'm also combat team, and we obviously have a lot of feedback, going back and forth, especially about the telegraphs of attack. I hear that, quite often that this attacks just came out of nowhere. Can you, exaggerate that anticipation so I know it's gonna happen. Yeah, combat team and character programmer. That's my guys.
Quick
Well, I'm
update.
glad to hear that. Oh, go ahead.
Game didn't actually crash. I did close it through Steam and then realized that what had actually happened is Windows Defender had decided to come in and just close the game, which is just a real classic. But I hadn't noticed, and I just wanted to get it back on stream as quickly as possible. So we didn't get a game crash on stream, which we usually do. And here's the running animation now. I love it.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I used ARM extensions for that. So the hardest part running on all four is the anatomy of a human. We have short hands and long legs, which is not ideal to run on all four. So we have tools to help with the anatomy, and it's like a short crutch that you put on your arms. And if you wanna, you can see a transition I made that I'm quite happy with. So if you stand still and then start sprinting, you will run biped first and then go into the quad. And that was
Let's have a look.
yeah, and that was quite hard to make that transition seamless, right? Like that was hard. That was harder than the loop.
Yeah, I love the way it looks, actually.
Yeah, I also tried a lot to emphasize that it ran like a wolf and not just on all four, which I hope comes through. So it
Well,
runs
I
like more
certainly
like a
think it
dog,
does.
wolf, or so not moves like a cat. They also run on all four, but that's a different gait.
Yeah, it's almost like there's more weights on the hips. I don't know if I'm right, but yeah, that's a lovely transition. That's for sure.
Cool.
So, next question. We've had. Sorry, did you have something to say, Altos?
No, you go ahead with the questions.
Okay. So we've had 2 beta tests for Ravenbound, and we received a huge amount of feedback, which we're very grateful for. Can you tell us how the feedback we received impacted your work in Ravenbound, and is there anything new that we can expect for the full game now? Anything that's changed?
There were a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. For me, as an animator, there I listen most to the feedback concerning the enemies, like telegraphs, for example. But also, since I'm part of the combat team, I also care about game balance, etc. But one thing that was very apparent was actually this enemy you're fighting now. The sprint attack was very annoying to a lot of players, like the thrusts. Okay, here it comes. That attack caught a lot of players off guard, and I gave it a lot more anticipation. I still feel like it might have an issue. I'm happy to change it again if the feedback it comes back again, because the thrust and the anticipation is it's kind of hidden underneath the body, so you don't really see the anticipation. So it's not perfect yet, but there a lot of people complain about that. So remedied that. That a bit gave more anticipation. People also said that the second warden was too easy. And I'm all for making the game harder, so I jumped on that immediately. And especially the second phase of that attack, I overhauled quite a bit and made it more unique. It was kind of similar as well to the first phase, so I definitely agreed with the feedback there. And you asked me if players can expect more changes from the demo and beta, and that overhaul I did on the two-handed axe kind of made me want to overhaul the other wardens as well. To make them as not necessarily. Yeah, I think I made most of them harder. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. But the wardens are different than what players have experienced. I mean, there's still the same identity. It's not like a whole new boss, but there should be some surprises, I hope. And in terms of balance, like I said, there were consistent feedback that the two-handed sword was too weak, underwhelming. So we buffed that one and tried to get to the bottom of why. So we didn't just buff it straight off the bat, just buff everything, because we want to keep the identity of the weapon. So we attacked the attacks that makes the two-handed sword in our opinion, and made them better, and work easier to use, etc. And lastly, I think one other good feedback example which we took to heart was the trolls. There was definitely a feeling from a lot of players that the trolls were too hard, first of all, but also not a fun fight to encounter, because they were. We want the trolls to be difficult, but we kind of made them sponges. Which is not fun necessarily. That the hard part is because you fight them for 5 minutes, and most players rather had them make them deal more damage and make them hard that way rather than survive for 5 minutes. So yeah, try to listen to what the consensus is and what makes players frustrated, and try to avoid that.
Well, players, you've heard it here first. If the game is too hard, it's thanks to your feedback.
Yeah.
So keep that coming. As we can see, Jonas is very excited to keep the difficulty going up if you ask for it. So love it. And last time we had you on stream, you mentioned that mocap was used to capture the movements for the Vitra, which is one of the enemies in Ravenbound. We haven't come across one yet. And I think you said your girlfriend was the movement reference for that one, which is really cool. But how do you decide that it's better to use mocap than more traditional animation methods?
Personally, but I'm a huge motion capture buff. I love motion capture, and that's a preference. Not every animator have that kind of mindset or experience. I always try to use motion capture as a base, pretty much for whatever it is. I mean, for example, the grappling hook, we talked about that before. That has motion capture as a base, but that doesn't mean I had a rope and I threw that rope and that sent me 10 meters. That's not how it works. But you can get the body mechanics, a base of the body mechanics through motion capture, and then when you have that, you can put keyframes on it so it flies, right? In this case, the grappling hook, I sat on a couch when I did that. Like, let's do it now. Like, sat on a couch, launched back, threw, and then pretended like I fell. So that gave me a base, something to work with. Even though there's not a, there's still obviously the result is very different after I put a lot of keyframes on it compared to the performance. But still, I think it always helps you a lot. It's just very quick and fast in my opinion. The only thing in this game that I didn't use motion capture for is the bird. That is 100% keyframe.
I'd like to see how someone would try and motion capture the
Yeah.
flight. That would be really impressive.
Just a raven with a little green suit over it.
Yeah, I mentioned this during the stream, but we have the same rig setup for all our creatures in game currently, which is a humanoid. So the bird, that means the bird, the rig I use, it looks like a human, right? But it's morphed into a bird. But since that is a setup, you can put motion capture on it. And we worked with dinosaur games before, and so we had like mocap on when I flapped, like the flying dinosaur. So I did retarget those animations on the bird, but kinda quickly realized that this is easier to keyframe. Like it looks quite silly, to be honest. But yeah, I think knowing that the grappling hook is motion capture, I think that kind of gives you the idea that you can use motion capture for a lot of things.
Yeah, of course.
We're getting towards kind of the limit of time here, Platty, and we don't want to keep Jonas past, you don't want to interrupt the party or anything like that. Do you want to skip on to the last question that we have, and then we can maybe leave it there after that?
There's a party? Oh my god.
There's always a party on launch day.
Always.
For me, it's here, but
we have a question from someone in the community that they sent in before the stream. So JP from Discord asks, what is your workflow when it comes to animating things, and what would be a good tip to follow if you wanted to animate something like a living thing? I think you kind of touched on that already.
Yeah, you can answer that. Mocap, use mocap. But if you don't have a motion capture suit, I think you should still use a reference. Maybe you can't retarget the data on your animation, but you can look at that video and kind of have it use that as a guard instead of the data. So you basically copy the poses and timings to get that organic feeling. You should try to always use a reference, even though you are going to attempt of animating something that it's impossible, right? It doesn't exist in this world. You're most likely after a feeling, and you can find a reference of that feeling. Like you can, I mean, if you want something, I don't know, I don't have a good example now, but look at the fire. What is the intensity of the fire? Can you translate that into your emotion? So using references, super important.
Yeah, no shame in using references as an artist.
No, it's that's not cheating. That's what you should do. Yeah.
Do we have time for one more, or?
One more short one if you have it.
Okay. So, have you come up with any challenges to keep your Ravenbound runs fresh?
Yeah. We have several weapons. I think that playing with a new weapon makes it feel different. New timings, etc. to account for. So definitely try new weapons when I get bored of using the same shield and sword all the time. There are different kind of builds, so the more you play, the more you will unlock, and the more options you will have. So I think it's fun to, even though maybe I prefer a certain build, I still think it's fun to go a different route that I haven't tried before. And see how that feels. Just see if it, if it experiment kind of, if it's more effective, or just give you different kind of perspective. I guess it's different route. And also there are mini bosses in the game, which they are pretty hard. So, but if you manage to defeat them, you will get a reward. So you can, if you like, you can incorporate that in your run and maybe build a little bit first towards having a greater chance of defeating those bosses that eventually will, put you in a position where you're stronger afterwards for whatever comes next, if you understand what I mean. So yeah,
Definitely.
trying different routes, trying different biomes. Don't there are, as you can see, there are several biomes here. Snow there, summer there. You don't have to start in the same order every time. So switching that around is also some variation. Yeah, experiment.
Awesome. Well,
You
thank
could
you so much
also
for...
choose whatever goes completely against your playstyle. But yeah, thank you so much for being here with us.
It was really great to have
Thanks.
you on. Thank you so much for coming on again. I know you've been on stream before, but it was really great to have some of your insights, something slightly different this time. We always love hearing from you, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back in future, maybe when we have some new content to talk about, or something a bit different.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
Alex.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
So we're getting towards the end of our stream. I'm going to just let the Raven kind of cruise for a little while so that we can chat about everything else that we have. I'm seeing Carney flaming me in Twitch chat, which is really nice. Thank you. Yes, I did scrap a Borbone Needle, which was definitely a mistake because I forgot that I was about to get a bunch of extra mana. But I'm not finishing this run yet. Anyway, I'll probably finish it later when we're all off. But we've all logged off and everything's calmed down for the day. We had a couple of quick questions. So first off, this is your last chance to enter the giveaway. We'll be closing it in about 2 or 3 minutes when we close the stream. The way that we're going to handle giving out the keys, we'll draw those through the bot that we're using, and we'll directly reach out to people via Twitch Whispers. So make sure you have your Whispers enabled on Twitch. You should be able to find in your settings the ability to open up Whispers, or keep an eye out, because if we can't whisper you directly, we'll add you as a friend to make sure that we can do it that way. Alternatively, if for some reason none of that works and we can find you in Discord, we'll reach out there. There was something else that I was about to chat about. Oh yeah, so aside from the giveaway, obviously Ravenbound is now available on Steam. So for anyone that doesn't win the giveaway, if you're keen to give it a go, make sure that you check that out, pick it up when you have a chance. There will be another giveaway in Discord either tomorrow or Monday, but we'll also say that, hey, maybe if you're really that keen on the game, you can buy it, and if you win the key, you can always give it to a friend. Little things that we have to say to keep everyone happy. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Oh yes, so if you are watching on Steam and this isn't live, which there'll be a little disclaimer up in that corner there saying it's not live, or one of the corners, then you can still enter one of the giveaways in Discord. You can see the link there, the Linktree link that will bring you over to our Discord, or if you can't find it there, you can find it on our website, which is ravenboundgame.com. Platty, is there anything else you want to talk about?
For the people on Twitch right now, I've just chucked over a link to the Ravenbound server. Saying it once again, we have spaces there for you to share your feedback, report bugs, and the community is just really great in general. So do come and join us if you want. It would be great.
Yeah, we've been having a great time with everyone in the community, and just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who has been taking part. It's been a really great place to hang out for the last couple of months, and we're sure it's only going to get better. But we've been really enjoying interacting with everyone. We've been having a great time. Everyone's been super kind, super excited about the game, so looking forward to keeping that rolling. And with that, I think that is pretty much everything. Platy, any last words before we head off?
Thank you for hanging out with us on stream. It's been really nice seeing your interactions, and we hope to see you again soon enough.
Yeah, we absolutely love being able to hang out with people on stream. It's super cool to be able to kind of interact directly on community. So like Patty said, thank you so much to everyone for coming along and hanging out today. I think in that case we'll say goodbye, and we will leave everyone to go and play the game. Enjoy your time in Avold, everyone.
Go enjoy Ravenbound.
Bye.
Bye.